Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of The Second Take with your host, Ashwyn Mberi. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what you've gotten yourselves into, so let me break it down. The Second Take is your one-stop shop for all things political, ludicrous, and heartwarming. We're like a political poiky spiced with humor and, well, common sense. Our goal is simple. We're here to take a second look at the news because goodness knows, with all the breaking headlines these days, a second glance is likely to reveal more than we initially perceive. We've got segments that will tickle your intellect and maybe your funny bone as well. Specter, for example, will dive deep into the minds of ordinary Namibians because let's be real, sometimes the everyday person's take on politics is just as confusingly brilliant as folks with political power. Cough, cough. We'll also whisk you away on a global whirlwind of the most interesting stories of the week. And because I refuse to be left behind by the Gen Zs, I'll be choosing my TikTok of the week. And for those moments where you just need to feel warm and fuzzy, we present to you the heartwarming moment of the week. Yes, we're not just cynics here. We've got hearts as big as the national debt. So buckle up, folks. We're diving headfirst into the world of headlines, sound bites, and occasional conspiracy theories that make your uncle's Facebook posts seem tame. The Second Take is where satire meets sanity, where headlines meet hilarity, and where my hair desperately hopes to meet a comb. Now grab your popcorn, and if you're an African parent, now is a good time to disturb one of your children by asking them to hand you that remote that currently sits no more than 1 meter away from you, just in case you need to turn up the volume. It's time for The Second Take. Our stories of the week follow after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
We start our stories of the week with the recent events in Gabon, where a military coup thrust the Central African nation into turmoil, unseating the president just minutes after he was named the winner of a contested election. Ousted President Ali Bongo, also known as Ali Bongo, has faced accusations of election fraud and corruption since he began ruling the oil-rich but poverty-stricken nation nearly 14 years ago. He took over from his father, Omar Bongo, who was the president for 42 years. 1967 to 2009. Now, Gabonese President Ali Bongo, speaking from apparent house arrest on Wednesday, asked the international community to make noise to support him and his family in a video shared widely online after military officers declared they had seized power. So naturally, I wondered why he was not appealing to his local support, fellow patriots and citizens alike. I mean, if you are democratically elected and you have the majority of votes, it's logical to appeal to your people to free you. So I thought I was wrong, because this was the reaction from the people of Gabon. Yep, residents in the capital of Libreville were seen dancing on the streets. In one video, people can be seen shouting "liberated" and waving the Gabonese flag in the Nteng district of the capital alongside military vehicles. Now I had to ask myself, what did he do to make the people celebrate his demise so emphatically? Well, the answer starts with his father, who I suppose was of the opinion that one simply can't rule for 42 years without affording themselves some benefits, given the sheer effort it takes to convince a nation that the presidency is actually a family business. Omar Bongo had 70 bank accounts, 39 apartments, 2 Ferraris, 6 Mercedes-Benz cars, 3 Porsches, and a Bugatti in France, because why not? So for his son, it only made sense that he followed family tradition, making sure Gabon's oil reserves enriched its rulers, many linked by family ties, and ignoring the frustration growing among the population over the inequality on display. 33.4% of Gabon's population lives in poverty in spite of being oil-rich and only being 2.4 million people. But that didn't stop Ali Bongo from adding spice to what it means to be daddy's boy. For example, he once imported fake snow to the presidential palace so his family could have a snowy Christmas. Okay, so it's safe to say he left a sour taste in many people's mouths, people who would clearly prefer to have food on the table. But things didn't have to be this way. See, Ali Bongo could have changed his fate, not this year, but in the 70s when he was a funk musician going by the stage name Ali Bongo. That's right. He even released an album in 1977 titled A Brand New Man. And perhaps if his father had allowed the African boy to be an artist, Gabonese people wouldn't be asking for the same thing. I have to say, the scenes in Gabon were reminiscent of how things played out in Zimbabwe during the military coup that ousted Robert Mugabe in 2017, which leads us into our next story. Zimbabwe just completed their general elections, and this time things were different, not the result, but how folks responded to the electoral process. In a critical report by the SADC Observer Mission led by former Zambian Vice President Nevas Mumba, they say that some aspects of the harmonized elections fell short of the requirements of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the Electoral Act, and the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections. The mission noted that just 64% of the voting stations observed opened on time, 36% did not open on time, and some opened 12 hours after the stipulated time. It pointed to restrictive access to the voters' roll, limitations on freedom of expression and assembly, and highlighted concerns about voter intimidation. The African Union, which ran an election observer mission alongside the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, was similarly critical. But that was not enough to stop Namibian President Dr. Hage Geingob from conveying his heartfelt congratulations, applauding the re-election of Mnangagwa, highlighting it as a testament to the enduring trust and confidence that the people of Zimbabwe continue to place in their leader and the ruling ZANU-PF party, according to a statement from the presidency, to which Zimbabweans in Namibia gave the most bombastic of side eyes. They claimed that the president enjoyed seeing the people of Zimbabwe suffer. With an inflation rate that hovers around 170%, one can make sense of their sentiments. For Namibians that expect to head to elections next year, the message raised some alarms because one has to wonder what their own country's approach to elections will be after their president seemingly sees no issue with elections that have been widely regarded as questionable. But it wasn't just the Namibian president that had strong opinions to endure after supporting President Mnangagwa. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa also congratulated the incumbent. Now, comments on his Twitter/X post included Zimbabweans saying that they are packing their bags and moving to South Africa, which of course is a reminder of the immigration issues faced by both nations. And then there was ANC Secretary General Mbalula Fikile, who also attracted the ire of Zimbabwean opposition supporters for his comments on the election. Now, in a response to the military coup in Gabon, Fikile said that we cannot support military coups in Africa, to which Zimbabweans swiftly reminded him that Mnangagwa himself was ushered in by a military coup in 2017. Because after all, if one lacks self-awareness, Twitter/X remains a mirror for social consciousness. Speaking of consciousness, in our third story, we zone in on the otherwise zoned out Mitch McConnell. The top US Senate Republican froze up for more than 30 seconds during a public appearance before he was escorted away. And it was an incident that happened for the second time in a little more than a month, which is certainly worrying. McConnell, 81, was responding to questions from reporters after an event when he froze up, staring into space and not responding to reporters and others nearby. The incident raised fresh questions among Republican and Democratic members of Congress about some of their aging colleagues. Now, after being approached by a second person, McConnell resumed speaking, but needed reporters' questions repeated to him, and he only answered 2 more questions. Now, the longest-serving Senate party leader in history, McConnell's voice was shaky and quiet. Now, everything I just said makes sense if one is not at work. If an 81-year-old freezes, has a shaky voice and goes quiet, that usually is called granddad after watching news about gender identity. But if that man has to make important decisions for your country, then we have to ask why it seems like politicians all over the world are exempt from a retirement age. Why does one choose to age in front of us instead of allowing young ones the same opportunity they had to lead? Why does one keep running for office when they can't, well, run. So we'll be talking about the seemingly distant dream of young people in politics as we get into the NAM Specter after the break. Welcome to NAM Specter. This segment is dedicated to finding out how Namibians feel about their country, Africa, and the world. Let's get into today's question. Do you feel that someone under the age of 45 can be a competent president in Namibia or in African politics in general? Here to share their respective NAM Specters are junior journalist Jemima Ndebele and young politician Queen Peter.
Hi, my name is Jemima Ndebele, and I believe that a younger president could bring a lot of vitality to the role that could lead to a lot of change and also enabling them to retire before 60 as mandated by law. As for competencies of a president younger or under the age of 45, I believe that competency is not determined by age. Therefore, it is possible, and competency is then determined by vision, experience, as well as one's ability to connect with a diverse audience. And that is what a president needs to be able to do. And unfortunately, as much as we do acknowledge the work that our veteran leaders have put into getting us our liberation, I think it is time that their season come to an end, and the trust that they have bestowed in the younger generation is then manifested.
Now, an African leader requires a range of competencies. This is from strong leadership skills, communication skills, diplomacy, and economic management under review. Now, we need to understand, I personally think that someone under the age of 45 is competent to be an African leader and a Namibian leader. Now, it is not easy to navigate the geopolitical situations in Namibia. It is also not easy to bring about unity and peace and bring about reconstruction of post-colonial eras. However, I think that someone under the age of 45 is ready to serve and to lead Namibia towards a unified and non-racist, non-discriminatory, non-sexist society, and to maintain it as such. I strongly believe that someone under the age of 45 can be a president and is competent to be a president in the Namibian as well as in the African context, because these people between, like we call it, the millennials, like we know it, have a touch of pre-colonial and also post-colonial. So I think that they are ready to be leaders in the African and Namibian context. Signing out.
Those have been their NAM Specters, and we would love to find out about yours. So feel free to comment on our social media pages if you feel like someone under the age of 45 can run for president. When we return, it's time for the heartwarming moment of the week. Now, in our heartwarming moment of the week, a mysterious person is leaving kindness packages for people to find and brighten up their day in the UK. Miss Busy is leaving handmade packages on popular walking routes. The packages include stickers, small books, cards, as well as messages. She said she was walking with her daughter one day and they found a crochet keychain. It really cheered her up and she decided to start making the packages. Miss Busy added that they hang the treats on trees along popular walking routes. We don't hide them. We want them to be found, she said. One man who found one of the kindness packages said he was taking a walk with his puppy and it was right there, hanging from a tree. And when he opened it up, it certainly made him smile. Now, I found this really refreshing and a reminder that some people out there just want to bring joy to others. And of course, I wondered if any of the members of the England rugby team that recently lost to Fiji for the first time could have run into one of these packages. They certainly need them heading into the World Cup. Now we're going to go for a short break, and when we return, we talk to our guest, Algeto Greg, about politics in Southern Africa.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Welcome back to the second take. Joining me in studio is Algeto Greg. Welcome, Algeto.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here.
It's good to have you. Now, Algeto is a senior journalist, and we're going to be talking about Southern African politics. Let's get straight into it.
Yes.
Let's start with South Africa.
Yes.
ANC.
Yes.
How well do you see them doing in the upcoming election?
Well, I think that being a liberation movement and with the backing of the SADC, I think that they'll win again. I don't think that there's too much they need to worry about, even though their support is not what it was before. But it's an uphill battle for any opposition to win in the current circumstances.
Now, when you said SADC and backing, SADC does a lot of backing.
It does.
Particularly when it comes to the liberation movement.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about Julius Malema. I mean, look, 15 years ago, the conversation surrounding him is probably this young ANC guy. He's probably just looking for money. Push over to about 10 years later, the guy fills the stadium, 80, 90,000 people. He's starting to get votes in KwaZulu-Natal, which should be seemingly, quite impossible. Any thoughts on his ascension?
I think that it demonstrates how desperate South Africans are for a change and for some hope. Whether he actually represents that is debatable. I mean, his roots ultimately, he also comes from the ANC initially.
Yes.
So as much as he on the surface offers something different, whether it's more than skin deep is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
But I think that South Africans really, they are desperate for something different from what they have. And that's why you can see the popular support. But even in other Southern African countries, you've seen that popular support doesn't always translate into winning at the ballot box.
Oh, yes. Now, speaking of votes, the Zimbabwean election just happened, I'm smiling, but it's not a happy smile. It's a tired smile. It's a 38-year-old smile. The president of Namibia congratulated the incumbent, Emmerson Mnangagwa.
He was the first.
The first. He's straight to it. Did not waste time. Immediately. And now, when I think about this, SADC commission did not have flowery comments to say about Zimbabwe. In fact, they saw a lot of problems with the voting and how the electoral process was carried out. AU also had some comments. Of course, the US said stuff, but it's the US.
Yes.
So what do you think this means for the political landscape of Namibians who are kind of like looking at this and they're like, okay, so SADC thinks this is a shady election. You're our president. You're a president of a party. You're a leader of a party that's going to seek to have a president next year. What does this mean for our political moral compass?
Yeah, it's a little bit worrisome, but it's also not surprising. If you take a very pragmatic view on things, you would expect that those in power would want to stay in power. Remember that this is our president's last term. So he doesn't really have anything to lose. He's not trying to remain president next year.
Certainly not. I mean, I hope not.
No, he's been quite firm about his decisions.
And respecting the terms.
And respecting the terms. So he's busy approaching the next phase in his life, the after presidency.
The more Ibrahim Award phase.
Precisely. Yes. And I think that one of the things that he's done exceptionally well in is to continue the legacy, not to break down the history of the founding father or President Pohamba. So he, once his term ends, he's sitting pretty and he's got all the freedom to pursue whatever he wants to do, whether he wants to just isolate himself on his farm, he can do that. If he wants to be an international globetrotter, he can do that. And with Namibia's ascendance in terms of our international image, which he had a lot to do with, there'll be a lot of requests for him to intervene across Africa. I think he's really done well in cementing our voice, and obviously also with the assistance and backing of the possible incumbent, our foreign minister. Who might be the next president.
Yes.
So he doesn't have anything to lose. And in terms of the fact that the elections were questionable, they were, but I also think that I must give Zimbabwe credit in terms of the people of Zimbabwe who were able to keep it generally peaceful.
Yes.
I think that that is a very important step towards finally one day achieving a result which will better reflect their desires. I think always when there is violence, you have let people who want to take advantage of you gain an upper hand.
Absolutely.
So once you get to eliminate the violence, the chances of you actually getting what you want at the end of the day increase. So I think that this is a step in the right direction. There's still a lot to learn.
Yes.
And politics is a dirty game.
Yes.
And there will be tricks. This is not the last time that tricks will be used. I think for us in Namibia, we are forewarned that, you know, the level of trickery can get a lot more than we've experienced in the past. Although we've also had our
fair share,
and our approaching the court to challenge results.
Yes.
And it also just goes to show that, you know, the apparatus, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's the legislature or the executive, you know, they all end up favoring whoever's in charge. So because they are an aspect.
Yeah, aspect of that. And you spoke about the central government.
Yes.
Algeta,
yeah.
You know, I am grateful that I get to have more conversations with you off screen, and I can't wait to continue this conversation. But for the second take, that was solid, man.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. See you after the break. Now, in our TikTok of the week, comedian Kevin Black pokes fun at long-serving African leaders in the context of the recent military coups. Enjoy.
Right now, after another coup.
How are you? How are you doing?
Very well, Your Excellency.
Are you okay? Are you fine? Is everything all right?
Yes, Your Excellency.
Please shift back small. Shift back. Move back small.
Apologies.
Sorry. Have you eaten?
Yes, I have.
Are you sure?
Yes, I have.
What about your family? Are they doing well?
Very well, sir.
Is there anybody who wants me to put in the job?
Not for now, sir.
Sir.
Thank you.
Sir, are you sure you are good? Because you know that this government belongs to all of us. It's the government of the people. Between me and you, now we get the government, you know.
Yes.
So if there's anything that you are lacking, you can let me know. I'm the president. I have right to promote you. You need promotion.
Well,
you're promoted. You need a striker. They'll give you tomorrow.
Wow.
Are your children, are they okay? Are they in their dream countries?
Yes, they are, sir.
Okay. In case you need anything, just...
Wow.
Nothing will affect you.
No problem, Your Excellency. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there any problem? Is there any problem?
No, Your Excellency.
Is there any problem?
No, Your Excellency. Not yet.
Then why are you pulling a gun?
It's for your security. I'm just...
But I'm safe now. I'm not hearing noise. Is there anybody coming? I'm not hearing noise. The gate's locked. The gate, is it locked?
It is locked, Your Excellency.
It's locked now. Why are you pulling gun? Please, can you put it back? Put it back.
But this is how I have been securing you all these years.
Time are different now. Things are going somewhere. Please put it back.
All right, sir. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Move your hand far from there. Take it back. Hello? Wait. It has happened in Gabon. Huh? Hey. Sir, officer. Just take a leave. Take a leave. You can go on a holiday. And when you go, tell the rest of the military that they have free holiday, even if it's 1 week they need. All of you should just leave. Muna, you people should take a leave. Leave.
Listen, I don't make the jokes. I just laugh with you. Stay with us. We'll be saying goodbye after the break. What does the will of the people mean? How often is it reflected in African governing bodies? Are coups the only tool for desperate people, or are they yet another Machiavellian attempt at power for a few individuals? What does it mean when we say that the future belongs to the children? Does that mean that they forgo the right to be impactful in the present day? Ask yourselves these questions and you just might have the answers that your country needs. And with that, we have come to the end of our first episode, because unlike some people, we know when to call it a day. My name is Ashwyn Mberi, and this has been The Second Take.